All right, today we are going to strip land navigation down to the absolute basics. We're talking about the one tool that can take you from being hopelessly lost to the person who always knows the way. Let's get right into it. Okay, so let me ask you something. If I pointed you towards a hill way off in the distance and said, walk straight there, with no trails, no nothing, could you do it? Most of us, we'd think, yeah, of course. Well, the reality is a little, circular. And here's why. It's this thing called lateral drift. See, without a fixed point to aim for, every single one of us naturally, unconsciously, veers a little bit towards our dominant side. Over a long distance, what feels like a straight line is actually a giant, slow arc, and you end up way off course. And that, my friends, is the exact problem we're here to solve. So, how do we solve it? Well, let's meet our guide for this journey, the compass. This simple little tool is the key to defeating lateral drift and walking that perfectly straight line. Okay, so you're going to see two main types out there. You've got the Linsetic compass. That's the tough, metal, military-style one. I mean, this thing is practically bomb-proof. But for what we're doing today, we're going to focus on the base plate compass, because its versatility and see-through design make it a fantastic, super easy-to-learn tool for, well, anyone hitting the trail. All right, let's break this thing down, piece by piece. First up, you've got the bezel ring. That's the dial you can twist around. Those numbers on it, that's all 360 degrees of a circle. And this is where you're going to set your bearing, which, by the way, is just a fancy word for your exact direction of travel. Now, floating inside that housing is the absolute heart of the compass, the magnetic needle. And the rule here? Oh, it could not be simpler. The red end of that needle will always point to magnetic north. Always. Doesn't matter which way you turn, that red needle is going to hold steady. Okay, now look closely at the bottom of the compass housing, right on the floor of it. You see that printed arrow outline? That's technically called the orienting arrow. But to make things way easier, we're just going to call it the shed. Trust me, you're going to want to remember that name. Why? Because this right here is the single most important phrase you need to burn into your brain. Put the red in the shed. It's all about aligning that red magnetic needle right inside the shed outline. If you can do this, you can do anything with a compass. It's the goal for pretty much every single thing we're about to do. Okay, we've got the parts, we've got the mantra. So let's find our straight path forward and actually put this thing to work. This whole process is called shooting a bearing, and it's just 4 simple steps. First, you dial it in. Just rotate that bezel to set your direction, let's say 40 degrees right at the top. Second, level and look. Hold the compass flat. Then, and this is the most important part, you rotate your whole body, not just your hands, until you guessed it, put the red in the shed. And finally, find your target. Look right through that little sighting notch and pick out a clear, distant landmark, like a big old tree that's directly on that line. And that's it. Now you just walk straight to that tree. You don't even need to look at your compass anymore. Once you get there, you stop. And you do the exact same process all over again to find a new landmark further down that same 40-degree line. This whole leapfrogging thing, that's how you beat lateral drift. That's how you walk for miles in a perfectly straight line. So walking straight is awesome, but, it's only half the battle. You also have to know how far you've gone. And that's where something called a pace count comes in. It's super simple. You step off with your non-dominant foot, let's say your left, and you only count 1 when your dominant foot, your right, hits the ground. You can easily figure out your personal pace count by walking a known distance, like 100 meters, and just counting. But how do you keep track of all those paces, right? I mean, you could put a pebble in your pocket for every 100 meters, or cut notches in a stick, but honestly, one of the best tools for this is a set of ranger beads. It's brilliant. For every 100 meters, you pull down one of the bottom 9 beads. Once you've gone through all 9, that's 900 meters. You walk 1 more, pull down one of the top 4 beads to mark 1,000 meters, and then you just reset the bottom ones. It's like a simple analog odometer for your feet. Okay, so you've shot your bearing, you walked a dead straight line, and you've tracked exactly how far you've gone. Now, for maybe the most important part, how do you get back to the exact spot you started from? To get home, you need what's called your back azimuth, and that's just the exact opposite direction you came from. Now, there are 2 really easy ways to do this. The compass method is practically automatic. The bottom indicator on your bezel, it just shows you the opposite direction. So if you walked out at 40 degrees, you look down, and it'll be pointing right at 220. You're done. The other way is the math method. Super easy. If your original number was less than 180, you add 180. If it was more, you subtract 180. Either way, bam, you are pointing straight back home. Of course, the real world isn't always a nice, clear path. Things are going to get in your way. But a real trail boss knows how to solve these problems without ever losing their line. So, picture this. You're walking along your bearing and bam, there's a huge swamp right in your path. You can't go through it, and you can't just guess your way around it because you'll get totally off course. The solution is a slick little move called the 90-degree offset. Here's how you do it. It's like making a box. First, you make a perfect 90-degree turn to your right. Then, you walk a set distance, let's say 200 paces, and you have to count them carefully. Next, you turn back to your original bearing and just walk straight until you're completely past the swamp. Then, you make another 90-degree turn, but this time to the left, and you walk that exact same 200 paces. And just like that, you've boxed your way around the obstacle, and you are standing right back on your original perfect line.
Okay, here's another great pro tip for you. So let's say you're on your path and you see something cool off to the side you want to check out. You can create a waypoint. Just take something bright, like a bandana, and tie it to a tree right on your main path. That's now your anchor point.
So what does this do? It gives you total freedom to roam. You can wander off, check out a stream, look for whatever, and as long as you can still see that bright marker, you know you can always find your way right back to your path, no problem. You don't even have to use your compass. It's such a simple trick, but man, it builds so much confidence.
And there you have it. You now know how to walk a straight line, measure your distance, find your way home, get around obstacles, and explore with total confidence. Basically, you have the fundamental tools to be your own guide. So the only question left is, you have the tools. Where will you explore?